Reiner here at Lambeau Field, joined by Ryan Wood to break down the Packers' very first loss of the season, handed to them by the Philadelphia Eagles. Aaron Rodgers said last week that he needed to play better, that the Packers' defense could not carry the Packers' offense for very much longer. Aaron Rodgers finally stepped up. Davante Adams stepped up. The Packers' defense was kind of nowhere to be found. They were not affecting.
The Packers had a defense tonight?
They were out on the field, but they were not affecting the quarterback the same way they were in weeks past. Yeah. Ryan, what went wrong for the Packers defense tonight, namely the run defense?
Well, when it's week 4 and you give up one fewer point than you had in the previous 3 games combined, it's usually not going to end up very well for you. That's what happened tonight. They gave up 35 points the first 3 weeks combined. They finally face a franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz, and it made all the difference. They gave up 34 points tonight. Carson Wentz was balling. I mean, one of those games that you look at the stat sheet and you're like, he's okay. No, he was really good tonight. The way he directed that offense, the fact that the Eagles were really short-handed on a short week on the road at night. That's what happens when we face good defenses. So that was the one litmus test that we hadn't seen from this Packers defense yet. What did they do against a franchise quarterback like that? And what they did was they gave up as many points tonight as they had the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's not how you win football games. The run game had a really hard time getting off to a good start. And
they had a run game?
They didn't get off to a good start at all. Aaron Rodgers was the Packers' leading rusher tonight. He had, I believe, 4 carries.
He can run, by the way.
4 or 5 carries.
He looked right at me afterward. Yes, I did. I did question Aaron Rodgers' athleticism this week. But the bigger point that I just a little explanation here. The bigger point was this offense really needs him to be making plays with his legs to move the chains when needed, when things break down, when to keep on schedule, down in distance. 45 rushing yards, that was a good way to shut me up.
Yes, Aaron Rodgers, still a mobile quarterback. All right, guys, yes. I'm looking at your comments here on the Facebook page. Thank you guys for joining us and bringing your comments. As always, I check out the Facebook chat and address some of your questions. We're also live on Periscope and YouTube, so thank you for joining us.
Are they angry?
Wherever you are.
Are they angry?
There aren't very many of them. I understand it's late.
It is late.
And it's a loss.
One of those losses where you just go to bed, yeah.
I understand perhaps you don't want to relive any of this and talk to us about it, but maybe it'll be a little bit therapeutic for some of you guys. Let's see what we got here. Whew. There's so many. Okay. Let's go start with Angel. Why not? He says that the offensive line can't block. The offensive line lost a pretty critical part of its group. It's all 5 of them. Brian Bulaga left the game early with a shoulder injury. So in at right tackle goes Alex Light. We had been talking leading up to this moment because we knew at some point Brian Bulaga was going to get injured, unfortunately. And so what were they going to do? What is their depth there at tackle? And they decided to go in and put Alex Light in at right tackle. What did you make of the way that Alex Light played? And what did you think of how the Packers offensive line played as a whole? And we're going to have to take a small step forward as it looks like they are bringing some stuff in behind us, guys. So just bear with us as the crews break some stuff down. You guys can come through. Go ahead.
Yeah, I made that. It was a lot different than 3-4 weeks ago when Alex Light was a healthy scratch for the opener, which was surprising at the time in Chicago. He was a healthy scratch, but I know Lane Taylor is on IR now, so the interior depth isn't the same, but I don't get how that changes things in terms of thinking that Billy Turner's your 3rd tackle and then not doing that tonight. Alex Light struggled. There's no question about it. Comes down to, could Lucas Patrick have played a better guard than Alex Light played a tackle? And I think that answer is yes. We've seen Lucas Patrick play pretty well at guard, and I mean, part of that too is how does Billy Turner play a tackle? As I told you during the game, teams don't like to move starters to make up for other starters being out because it weakens you at 2 spots. But the way that Alex Light did struggle tonight, was a little surprised that they didn't move Billy Turner outside.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. We've got injuries. Let's talk about injuries. Kevin Smith.
Yeah, a lot.
Once, a loss is a loss, and a loss isn't good, but a loss compounded with the fact that the Packers lost Davante Adams during the course of the game. They lost Kevin King. I mean, even
groin, hamstring, whatever, soft tissue.
Especially Jamal Williams to start.
Jamal Williams' first play, which changes everything for that offense. Very
Big.
First snap.
And even, I lump in Will Redmond, too, who has been an important part. I mean, he's a starter. He's an important part of the Packers' secondary as well at this point in the season with Raven Green out. So these injuries, what can the Packers do, and what do we know so far?
Well, these Thursday night games are insane, Olivia, and I think everyone knows that. Yet the NFL continues to trot that product out onto the field 5 days after you have one car accident, you have another. And it wasn't just the Packers tonight. Sidney Jones went out. The Eagles had a few others that went out. Both sides were depleted. I mean, really, really down, and that's what you get. Now, that doesn't excuse the Packers for losing because, like I said, both sides dealt with their injuries, and, you know, the team that overcomes that war of attrition is the team that wins. But it's not a good product, I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. So we don't have any update on Jamal Williams. No. We do know that Davante Adams, he confirmed in the locker room that...
But, sorry to interrupt, but Jamal Williams does have extremity in all of, or feeling in all of his extremities. That is important, because that was scary, and he was... reportedly taken to the hospital locally here, but he does have feeling in all extremities, so that's the important thing.
Yes, that is important. Davante Adams confirmed in the locker room that he had a turf toe issue, so didn't, again, offer any sort of timeline, any sort of what we'll find some stuff out going forward. I'm sure we'll see if there's any update tomorrow as to whether or not these guys will be good enough to go come Dallas. So speaking of come Dallas, getting ready for all of that, Dexter Williams has been a healthy scratch for the last 4 games. He wasn't active for a single game this season so far. Do you see, Jamal Williams, we don't know exactly the severity of his injury, but could this upcoming week be the week that we see Dexter Williams on the sideline?
Well, we don't know as you said, the extent of the injury. I mean, if he clears out at the hospital, if he doesn't have a concussion, shoot. I've seen a couple years ago, Davante Adams was knocked out of a Thursday night game with a concussion and came back and was able to clear protocol and play the very next game with the extended weekend. So you don't know. Maybe Jamal Williams can go in Dallas. But Matt LaFleur said it himself when I asked him about how Jamal Williams' absence on the very first play affected things. He said that's the risk you run when you only carry 2 halfbacks. And they flirted with fire the last couple weeks here doing that, and it finally got burnt tonight. I mean, it's as Matt LaFleur said, you ask one halfback to play the entire game in this league, it is brutal. It's grueling. So, you know, the Packers clearly abandoned their run game tonight. I think it was like 58-15 pass-run balance, which is nowhere near ideal. But part of that, and there's several parts of that, but one of those is that Jamal Williams dropped out the very first play.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Guys, keep the questions coming. Alan has an interesting point. He wonders when Oren Burks will return to the Packers, how much of an impact he can make on their run defense. Like we mentioned earlier, this is a part of their defense that they've been struggling with the last couple of weeks, giving up a lot of yards. I mean, the Eagles were averaging somewhere around over 5 yards per carry in their run game. How much can Oren Burks bring, or is it something bigger?
It's a lot bigger than Oren Burks. I don't think he moves the needle that much. He's a coverage linebacker first and foremost, converted safety from college. Would you like to get more of a traditional inside linebacker on the field? Yeah, but you know what? B.J. Goodson's really more of the run defender, and he's been on the field. So the issue with the run defense is they're getting completely gashed on the defensive line, just completely gashed up front. And when that happens, you have the holes that the Eagles had to run through tonight. Doesn't take a whole lot for any running back to pick up yards, and that's what they've been doing. So they have to figure that out. I mean, this is an organization that for the better part of 3 or 4 years has spent it just seems like they spent every waking second trying to figure out how to be better defending the pass. You go back to the 2016 NFC Championship game where they were completely blown off the field in Atlanta because they couldn't even line up against the Atlanta Falcons passing offense, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. They couldn't even line up against those guys. Ever since then, it seems like they've been trying to figure out this pass defense. They've thrown a ton of assets there, corner, pass rusher, free agency draft. That has been the sole focus. And you know what? Even tonight, Carson Wentz played really well, but pass defense wasn't the problem. Third straight game is the run defense. So it's almost like that pendulum has swung too drastically the other side where they can play the pass now. First time in eons, but they can play the pass now, and now they can't play the run. And they got to figure out how to do both because as Matt LaFleur said tonight, the book is out. That's how teams are going to try to beat them, not even try to pass, you run the ball.
I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat right now going back and forth about Mike Daniels. He's a guy that we've been talking about a lot this past week. There's some differing opinions on the beat as to whether or not the Packers are missing Mike Daniels right now in their run defense. Is it...
Who says they don't miss him?
Jim Ozarski said that the Packers aren't missing Mike Daniels right now.
Okay, I disagree.
Yeah.
Nothing is yet. Yeah, they're now. Mike Daniels is hurt right now, but in the alternate universe where he's never released, maybe he's not hurt. Yeah, they're absolutely missing Mike Daniels. He's a run defender first and foremost, always was. He was an early down guy. At this point in his career, really, he wasn't much of a pass rusher anymore. He was really an early down run defender, and they are getting gashed on the defensive line. Dean Lowry has struggled against the run. He's made some plays in the pass game. Surprisingly to me, Kenny Clark has struggled against the run. I mean, he's gotten pushed back, and I didn't see that coming. Now, Kenny Clark's been a difference maker as a pass rusher, but they're getting gashed on the defensive line. They're missing Mike Daniels.
So how do they turn around Cowboys next weekend? Ezekiel Elliott, what do they do to stop him?
Pray. I mean, it's not an ideal matchup. Look, Dalvin Cook had his day against this run defense. Since then, Phillip Lindsay and the Eagles tonight had their days. Ezekiel Elliott is even better than Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook's one of the best backs in the league. I get that, but he's even better than Dalvin. I mean, that's and you put him inside on that turf where it's a lot quicker. They got to figure out something in these next 10 days, or they are going to. I mean, they could flirt with giving up 200 yards against Ezekiel Elliott with the way that they're playing run defense right now.
Mark wants to know, will Josh Jackson get some more playing time with the Packers secondary? He was pretty much got not a lot of snaps the first 3 games. With Will Redmond coming out, gave an opportunity to Jackson. What did you make of him in essentially his debut for the season?
I think it's really telling that Will Redmond's playing ahead of him, or was playing ahead of him before the concussion. Not what you want when you're talking about a second-round pick. They're probably going to need him. He's going to have to step into that role and not only play some snaps but play well. And we'll see if he can do that.
All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up here. It's starting to drizzle just a little bit, so we got some writing to do, got some uploading of clips and interviews and whatnot to go. So we're going to go take care of that, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. As I just said, lots of more stories and updates will be over on PackersNews.com tonight and tomorrow, so make sure you're checking us out. Also, make sure you're following us on social media. We'll have lots and lots of updates for you this week as the Packers prepare for